Hello, comic book junkies. It's the Frog Queen here, and I'm coming at you with another episode of what I'm currently reading, what I have been reading, what I've been enjoying, all that. In the world of comics, of course. Every now and then I'll talk about some of the novels I've been reading, regular novels, but I think we will save that for like a whole episode. That sounds more appropriate because I've been reading a lot of novels again. And rearranging my house. So I'm sitting over here by one of my many bookshelves. As you can see, this one's mostly graphic novels and, some vinyl thrown on the side there because my record player's off to the side here. Okay, so let's start with the comics I've purchased lately, other than digital ones. Digital ones we'll do at the end. How about that? Faithless, of course. I've been reading Faithless, and I've held off on writing an article about this. Also, that's a good time for me to mention, although I haven't been doing a lot of videos, if you go to thefrogqueen.com, I still write all the time about comics, so you can go on there and read about my thoughts on different comic book series that I've been reading over the last month. But yeah, Faithless is one I didn't bother to write on yet because it's wonderful. Sometimes it's really hard to write about things that you actually really like. The reasons for that, I don't know. It's just like you feel like you're gushing too much, especially because Marie Lovett is probably my favorite comic book artist of the last couple years, since the publish of, what was it called? There's Nothing There. There's Nothing There? Yes. But on Black Mask. That one, since I read that book, I was just like, yeah, this is definitely my favorite artist right now. So she's done all of the interior art. Paul Pope has done the lovely covers. There's 5 issues out. The 6th one is the last one. It's to drop, and it's written by Brian Azzarello, which, of course, everybody knows. So I just like, do I even need to make any introductions? If you read the big two, if you're a Batman fan, you know who Brian Azzarello is. So yeah, Boom Studios. Really digging Boom Studios again. They had like a year where I wasn't reading much of their stuff. I think it was like last year, actually. I wasn't reading that much Boom stuff. And then this year, I'm reading so much Boom Studios. It's crazy. Always reading, of course, though, Image Comics. Reaver. I've been buying Reaver, of course. Most of you know that I work for Justin Jordan. I'm also a fan, of course. So, loving Reaver. It's like a brutal fantasy realm. This band of kind of misfits gets like stuck together. They've all got different politics. They're all from different places. They're all kind of different species, not really species, but races, I suppose. And they are all on basically like a suicide mission. It's pretty cool. It's funny. It's entertaining. It's full of action, and there's some, personal politics at play going on between the characters, which is really interesting. Not a lot of female characters. There's Ricala. That's her on the cover of the first issue. Becky Cloonan did the covers for this series. This is an ongoing series too. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. It could be really, really long. I mean, we all know that Spread lasted for 5 volumes. So I would really like to see Reaver last for 5 volumes as well. But yeah, crazy, brutal fantasy. I'm sure that some of your favorite characters are just gonna die, because I feel like, yeah, this is kind of like a George R. R. Martin type thing, but with more comedy. It's funny. Next we've got, of course, Little Bird. It was just announced that Little Bird is actually getting a hardcover release. Because they originally said, we don't think it's going to go to trade. That's all they said. Trying to get people to, buy the floppy issues, which is good. Of course, I think you should always buy floppies if you can afford it. I know that some of them are getting expensive, especially where, Marvel's charging, $5.99 American for some of their issues. I'm like, fuck you. I should bleep that out. Anyway. They are getting a hardcover version. It looks gorgeous. I saw a picture of it in a press release Image sent out recently. So you could add that to your list if you did miss getting the floppies. They did, second, third, fourth printings of a lot of the issues for Little Bird. The first couple issues, I think the first issue was reprinted 4 or 5 times. I don't remember. But anyway, pretty exciting that they're doing a hardcover. I actually didn't get issue number 2 of Little Bird. I think I only got... Yeah, I couldn't get issue 2, so mine was digital. So I might get that hardcover just because, I'm a completist and stuff like that drives me insane. Another one that I'm, of course, reading, David Hines' current one. This is with Image. Is it Skybound Image? Shadowline, yeah. Sanada, yeah, another fantasy sci-fi, which, I'm a big fan of fantasy sci-fi. Okay. Great artwork. Pretty crazy. A lot of the artwork reminds me of early 80s heavy metal, and a little bit, sometimes, of some of the Meta Barons and stuff. A bit more, let me see, expressive. But, yeah. Hopefully I'm not spoiling anything by just showing you a couple pages. I don't think I am. Yeah, so Sanada, David Hines. David Hines actually has another one coming out with Image Comics. I can't remember if it is on Shadowline Image or not, but it is coming out called The Marked. I believe late September, early October. I can't remember the exact date. If I remember to look it up, I will list it down below. And I know you guys are... People ask me, why don't you, ever read DC or Marvel Comics? And, I do occasionally, just not very often. There's so much more out there that interests me. And I really feel like, Marvel and DC have, collectively dropped the ball on good writing over the last 10 years. I'm trying to think of, what were the last books they've put out that I've even enjoyed. Besides The Vision, probably, of course, Peter Milligan's Ecstatics, the odd Peter Milligan book that they put out, I've always enjoyed. I really liked the Legion one he did. There's not a whole lot. But I did pick up, because I am a Batman fan, even though I don't read Batman regularly anymore, the DC IDW. They've got... It's just the first 2 issues that are out currently. Don't know when the next one's going to be coming out because it's Batman Max. And Sam Keith, of course, flies by his own schedule and will not be held to somebody else's standard of publication, I guess. So, I love Sam Keith. I'm a huge Sam Keith fan. I have tons of it behind me, probably. Yeah, there's the Max, Zero Girl... For Women, 30 Days of Night. Yeah, I've also got My Inner Bimbo and all that stuff. There, My Inner Bimbo. Oh, here's one that I don't even know. A lot of people I know haven't read this one, but I really like this one, and it's another Sam Keith book that I definitely think you should check out if you haven't. Sometimes it can be hard to find, but it's one of his black and white ones. And I've got the hollows and different things that he's illustrated over the years. I should talk into the mic, but I'm not, turning around like an idiot. It's going to make for great YouTube. But yeah, so the Max. I'm actually, I like it. It's, the Max gets taken to Arkham Asylum. Batman kind of gets thrown into the mix. Penguin gets thrown into the mix. The Joker gets thrown into the mix. And... everybody kind of gets sucked into Max's outback, his, subconscious, his other reality. And unfortunately, it's not really the outback. So it's a little bit different. But I won't spoil it. That's kind of the gist of it. I'm liking it so far. It's pretty good. Keith has been kind of different over the years, And I like a lot of his more... That's why I like the Inner Bimbo. It's kind of... playing with more serious topics and a lot less of just being all surrealist. Even though the inner bimbo is very surrealist because it takes place in kind of somebody's mind. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that because that'll just go on forever. I don't think I've ever written about it. Maybe I'll reread it and write about it sometime, just for fun. I also went to Decaf recently, and Ed Brisson was there. I love Ed's work. You probably know him. He's done some Old Man Logan. He's got multiple Image comics. Anyways, one of the few of his that I haven't read was Sheltered, so I grabbed volume 1. And I don't know, I remember when this came out and it was just, I didn't get to read it for whatever reason. It was probably just so much I was buying already at that time. So I got this and read it. Really, really liked it. Got to get the other 2. I think there's 2 more issues. He signed it for me, Decaf. And yeah, it's a pre-apocalyptic tale. So a bunch of kids, survivalist with a twist. Pretty interesting. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. This character's crazy. Or is he? Finally got to get my copy of Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran's Snow, Glass, and Apples. It is so gorgeous. And what an awesome price point. So this is a Dark Horse book. It's hardcovered. It looks like it's for children at first, except for like the whole bleeding heart. And there's a whole bit about how they tried to make this look less like a young adult's book or a children's book by the cover, because the original cover that they were going to use did look, it just would have attracted the wrong audience. So they've got the bloody heart on there. And the whole book is so beautiful. So obviously it's not for kids. I would show you, but I can't. But there's nudity and sex and stuff depicted throughout, so I can't show you that stuff. But just gorgeous, gorgeous work. And there's a really lovely piece at the back. Colleen talks about her inspiration for the book. She was a big Harry Clarke fan who did all the amazing stained glass and like lots and lots of illustrations and things. Got some lovely pre-sketches, and she talks about how she her process and everything. But yes, lots of illustrations from Harry Clarke and stained glass that she went and like saw in person and stuff to kind of research and get down what she wanted. And she, I guess, was a lifelong Harry Clarke fan anyway. So this is definitely worth it. The price point was $23 Canadian, which is like an amazingly cheap hardcover book. And it's, of course, it's Dark Horse, so it doesn't feel or look like a cheap hardcover book. And it's not. Like, the paper's very, very, very thick and glossy, really nice binding all the way through. It's so pretty. Definitely get that one. I think it's being reprinted. I think it already sold out. I'm not sure. I think you can still get copies on Amazon. They had a few last time I looked. I got this at my local comic book shop at Monster Comics, which is where I shop all the time now because I live like pretty much next door to it. And they let me take my dog in there. Bam. So yeah, get that one. I recommend it. And it's such a lovely story. Like, it's not a Snow White story that you've heard before. And my husband, who doesn't read comics, has been kind of doing this thing because I've been sick lately and I spend a lot of time at home alone doing nothing but reading comics. He will pick up like a random comic for me on his way to the bakery or whatever. So he has been grabbing me a lot of Aftershock stuff, like older Aftershock stuff that I've missed. Volume 1 just is coming out just next week, I think, for Oberon. But this was one that he kind of randomly grabbed for me and I started reading, and I just got the digital version of Volume 1 so I can read the rest of it. But this is a really great read. I really liked it. Fantasy with, of course, Oberon is king of fairies, and little girl who, gets not really sucked into the fairy world, but in a way, like, fairy world collides with reality. So I like that kind of stuff. I'm all about fairy stuff. That's me. What else? Shall we move on to the digital comics? Maybe I should just prattle them off because I feel like there's so many. I've written articles on a few that I've been reading. So I read all of Die. That's Kieran Gillian, and gosh, I just blanked on who else is part of that. That's awful. It's beautiful. I've been reading Sea of Stars, which is a new series with Image Comics. I've read all of Angel to date, all of Buffy to date. That's the new Angel and Buffy series that's been launched with Boom Studios. They've recently acquired the franchise, or acquired the property, and they've relaunched it. And Jordi Belair, which you know so well from Marvel, probably, has been writing Buffy. And oh my god, I've been trying to finish this article about it, and it's not going so well because it just keeps getting longer and longer because I have so many problems and issues with the series. And like, you could make like 100 arguments about why there were really poor plot choices, just choices in general for that relaunch, why it could be like 100 times better, why it's not good. So I don't normally write articles that are like bashing something, but I was just like, I normally like Jordi Belair's work to a certain extent. Like, I'm not a fan. I'm not a huge fan either, but I was just like, I really don't like this. And like the laundry list. So the article's not done, which means the video could be like half an hour if I tried to do it. So maybe I won't. I also finished reading Redlands finally, and I started reading Once and Future. You know, I've always given Kieran Gillen's work like a pretty hard review. I'm not a huge fan of his work, but lately, like, Die was pretty decent, and I really liked issue 1 of Once and Future. It's kind of like a King Arthurian legend kind of book, modern day twist, you know. We've seen that stuff before, but this was just, I don't know, it was really well written. I liked the initial characters, and I like how kind of like how it sped off. More so than a lot of his other books, which I've read and not enjoyed. But anyway, I feel like there's so many more books that I could talk about right now, but this is getting really long, and I don't want this to be a super long video. So, how about you check back, because I'm going to try and turn some of my articles into videos for those people who don't like reading articles on those kinds of things. But if you do like comic book articles, go to thefrogqueen.com, and there's kind of a new article every few days that I will publish, and sometimes it's just on one issue, sometimes it's on a series, sometimes, you know, it's just whatever I'm reading that day and feel like talking about. I am rereading Hellblazer, so you can probably expect me to talk about some Hellblazer stuff again in the future, as usual. Hellblazer's also kind of relaunching in a way through the Sandman universe. I haven't researched much about it because I've been so disappointed in the past with the John Constantine there's the Constantine New 52, and then there was the Hellblazer with Vertigo a little while back, which wasn't terrible, but, you know, I think they just tried to sell the gayness or the bisexuality of John Constantine so hard that a lot of people who never really noticed that side so much of him were taken aback. And even me, as like someone who reads like all this Hellblazer and has read so much Hellblazer, it's basically the top shelf up there. It was just kind of like, wow, they are really, really pushing this whole bisexuality, and I, you know, didn't really get it. Not because I am bisexual. It's just it didn't even feel like Hellblazer. It didn't feel like John Constantine, and it was kind of sappy. And he's like that type of guy who like doesn't open his heart to anyone, kind of thing, for the most part. I mean, that's the John Constantine I know and love. Anyways, now I'm reviewing something that I've actually reviewed and talked about years ago. I loved the art in that, though. I think it was Riley Rossmo who had done all the art for the Hellblazer that came out, again, on Vertigo a few years back. I'll have to dig up my issues on that somewhere. Anyway, again, thefrogqueen.com if you like reading articles about comics. I am on Twitter. I'm also, it's like at @thefrogqueen, and I'm on Instagram. It's at _frog_queen, and I believe it's all capital letters, if that even matters on Instagram anymore. I don't know. And yeah, follow me there. I pretty much just talk comics. Every now and then I throw in a picture of my dog. And that's the church bells, because I'm surrounded by fucking Christians. Anyway, until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and read something good.